Okay, so now we're going to look at trade number 2 on day number 2. So once we've had the first trade, we're now looking at the second and third, and in order for that we're interested in only permission to draw criteria number 2, which is usually 2/3 of an ATR. The other thing that we do, as soon as we've had a trade from the first trade, the first entry point becomes the start bar for the second trade, and the second entry bar point from the second trade becomes the start bar for the third trade, and so on and so forth. So the start bar for the first trade is the first bar of the day. The start bar for the second trade is the first entry point of the first trade, and the start bar of the third trade is the entry point for the second trade. Okay, so it's staggered behind. So right now we have the start bar here, and what we do is we'll just move over so that that's all we see in our window is the start bar, which is the entry of the first trade. We no longer need this yellow measuring tool because it's only good for for first trades. We're interested in PTD2, which is the yellow one. So the rule set very simply says PT threshold must be met between highest to lowest point between start bar and current price, or PTD threshold between start bar, which is here, and current price is met at this point in time over here. So we get our drawing tool and we point it to that area there. Okay. The second thing we have to do is join the outer two most points, and we do that by taking point 1, which is the lowest point. We put this in white. Okay, so this is point 1, and if we look at the rule set, we're drawing an upward trend line. So point 1 is the lowest point between the start bar and the current price. Lowest point between point 1, so the lowest point between start bar and current price, which is here, is there, and we join the outer two most points, which are there. Now remember, we can only draw this line at this point in time. So we take our redraw tool and see that there's no need to redraw, it's within its boundaries. So we leave that aside for now until we need it for the target and stop. We see we have a cross here, like the DJ trends, but we don't change the point number 1. We keep it and we rotate it lower and lower and lower and lower and lower until we get 2 consecutive closes below, which happens about there, and that now becomes our entry point. Our target is this distance, which is met, so we have a good trade. And then right at that point, once we get an entry, we move our start bar to there, and that becomes the start bar for the third trade if needed, and we mark that trade is complete. I'm going to give it a green square to illustrate when I do my checking. So that's the end of the second trade for day 2, and we start now looking for the third trade. The third trade, first criteria that we have to look at, because we are on the second and third trade, we are using the PTD distance, and we try and find it from that start bar, and between now and the end of day, which I'll mark again here, there's the end of day, we don't need this anymore. In this area here, we don't see any no distance is covered, so that's done. So that's not applicable, and that's it for the day. We don't need any more trading, so we close it.